welcome to Red Boots and Heels with Talking Points. We're so glad to have you join us this afternoon.
I'm Boots.
And I'm Heels. Oh, we're going to talk about something very interesting going on that's been going on for quite some time now, and that is the crisis at the border. Humanitarian crisis. Oh my gosh, it's terrible.
It's been going on for a long time, but of course, Biden's repealing of the migrant protection program probably didn't help matters any, and it probably didn't help that there was just an open invitation for every Tom, Dick, and Harry to bring their children and drop them off at the border.
You remember back, I'm just reflecting back whenever Ted Cruz went over there with 18 senators to try to get a handle and to get a good viewpoint of what's really happening. And he went over there with a full film crew, and they wouldn't even let him film. At all. They didn't want to show what was going on over there. And to me, this is criminal. This whole thing is criminal. These are children at the border. These are illegals coming through, really with an invitation from Biden.
Another element to all this mystery is the fact there's a lack of transparency, and that's something that the Democrats would scream about in the 4 years of the Trump administration was transparency, but yet they have hidden agendas all over the place. There is no transparency. As a matter of fact, there's been media blackouts, and isn't it funny that it's something that we just hear very little about, and it's such a huge, huge problem.
Yeah, and I remember back too. He was saying that even though he couldn't film, and actually show the deplorable conditions that these families are in, but he was saying that almost 1 out of every 7 or something like that was testing positive for COVID, even at the time. Now, this was in a time when we were on all these mandatory restrictions for, the United States of America was really in a shutdown situation, and, you couldn't even hug grandma, but yet these people are in cages, and by the way, the Obama cages.
Right, the Obama cages.
Okay, not Trump cages,
right.
Okay. And said these families were literally stacked on top of each other.
You couldn't visit your grandma that was dying in the nursing home or in the hospital because you might come into contact with COVID or give someone else COVID, but yet here are all these people, undocumented with high rates of infection coming across the border and basically being allowed to traipse all over the country, aided by the Democrats in office.
It's I don't even understand how they can keep doing it. Literally, if you think about it, they went over there to show. We pay these people to look out for us. Okay, so they go over there to try to get a handle on everything, and they're really just shut down. And there's a lot of memes going up at the time that, the Democrats were making fun of the fact that he even went over there. Don't we pay these people to do that?
That's what they're supposed to do. Actually, one of the primary functions of the federal government is to protect our borders and protect our citizenship.
Without borders, we don't have a country.
Without borders, we don't have a country.
So it's crazy.
And actually, without strong borders and a strong economy, we can't help others. So it's a real big predicament.
Yeah, the last news that I checked into, there was 18,000 migrant children in the custody, U.S. custody right now. 18,000 migrant children.
Well,
my gosh, these are kids,
right? And but another aspect that people don't realize is the economic impact of the taxpayers in the state of Texas. We're talking almost $1 trillion a year in taxes coming from hardworking citizens. These are people that are generous and kind by nature. Many were from immigrants or had ancestors that were immigrants, and are very caring and very sympathetic to the plight of migrants. But my goodness, there's got to be another way.
Well, how do you know that they're? Think about it. There's no reasonable plan of protection for these children making that pathway here to come here. And what kind of parents would lend their kid off to traffickers and expect them to make that journey? Literally. There's hundreds more too. Every single day they're telling us they're showing up at the border. Hundreds every single day. And these children are on a path of destruction, really, because I don't even know if they're any more protected once they get here than what they were on the journey.
Well,
think about that. There's no protection really for them. And how many of them are unaccounted for totally? There's probably hundreds of more that they don't know that has died along the way. And how would you ever know that?
You can't.
So you don't really know the total.
That's a problem with undocumented people coming across the border, and especially these children. We owe it to these children to make sure that they are safe, if their parents won't do it, and the governments
Yeah.
of the countries that they're born in, then we need to make sure that they're kept safe. I think one thing that we're going to have to do, we've got a huge problem with Central American countries, Guatemala,
Yeah.
Honduras, being some of the most corrupt countries in the world. Their governments are riddled with corruption. We have almost no middle class in these countries. I think that Honduras, the middle class has dropped to around 9 or 10%. This 9 and 10% is trying to support the whole country because the upper class is so corrupt with the government. That's a problem that you have. That's a huge problem. Until we have a dialogue in a worldwide dialogue that holds these corrupt governments accountable for their own citizens, we're never going to see a solution to this problem.
Yeah. You know what? We have a clip that it's almost heartbreaking to even show this clip, but I think we're going to go ahead and show it. Because obviously, and the crazy thing is that it's not being shown because it is so heartbreaking.
Right.
And they don't want us to, obviously, speaking back to what you were saying earlier about transparency, but we're going to go ahead and take a look at this film just so you can kind of see and understand what we're talking about. And this is just one little boy out of literally thousands and thousands of children that probably have the same cry going out right now. So we're going to go ahead and show that film right now.
Disturbing new images this morning of a 10-year-old boy alone and afraid when he was discovered by a Border Patrol agent in the middle of the Texas desert last Thursday. The boy's tearful plea, "I came with a group and they left me and I don't know where they are." The agent asked if he came with his mom and dad. "No one," he says. "I came here to seek asylum," explaining he doesn't know where to go and fears getting kidnapped or robbed. In a statement overnight, Customs and Border Protection says the child from Nicaragua was distraught after awakening, realizing he'd been left behind by the group. Adding, scenes like these are all too common as smugglers continue to abandon children in desolate areas with zero regard for their well-being.
If that doesn't touch your heart, if that doesn't get to you, then you're kind of soulless, because I don't see how it couldn't. I mean, I didn't really want to watch that all the way through, and I'm glad we only had a few seconds of it to show you because it's just heartbreaking. These are children. There's no blame on these children. I mean, they're children. They're following the lead of their parents and whoever's responsible for them to come over here. But I'll tell you who I think is responsible, and that is Biden and everybody related to him, because he's basically on the invite, allowing, if you come here as a child, you get to stay here. And on that alone, I mean, they're pouring in by the thousands for that reason. And so families are starting to use their children as the caveat to get here. And I think it's despicable in every sense of the word, because you're taking a chance on losing them.
The governments in these corrupt Central American countries need to be forced to address the problems that they have.
Yeah.
They have to fix internal problems. That's the only solution.
Yeah. And on top of that, I mean, it's causing more division, because it sets an unfair precedent against every single person that's out there working hard for immigrants to come in or illegals to come in, and then be handed everything to compensate, I guess. I don't really understand that. It's just all about buying of votes to me. I think it just all boils back down to one thing, and that's just, I'll do something for you, then you do something for me, and that's give me your vote and your undying love, I guess. I don't understand it.
Sadly, we have legal immigrants in this country, and I have friends
they're upset about it.
Yeah, they're very upset. I have friends
I do too.
that have become they're veterans that served, and they're a little bit angry, and they're a little bit disillusioned by this administration that basically says you don't have to follow laws. You can actually be a criminal element and come here because you're not vetted. Yeah. You're not anything. You have an open invitation to cross the border and break our laws. And really, it's a disservice to all of our legal immigrants that we've had all through the years.
Well, and it goes back to him signing all those executive orders and doing away with the wall and trying to make a statement. It was really just anything that Trump was for, he's against, and basically he's created this cesspool situation out of just the hatred there, there. And it doesn't really matter. You're dispensable. It doesn't really matter. They don't care.
As a means to an end
Yeah,
with this
they don't really care about those children. They don't really care about those families. It's really just about staying in power, and that is, they're going to answer for that one day. I mean, if we don't believe that, there's got to be justice someday, and I'm hoping that there is, actually, because these children are going through hell. And even, I get it, there's a hope and a dream, and families want to, come to America. Why not? You have it made here when you start comparing us to other countries.
It's not an open-ended chest of wealth when you get here. But America has its problems, but we're still the greatest country in this world. Mm-hmm. And nobody can ever tell me any different. And part of that is the American dream. And the idea that you can come here, you can take part, you can be successful, you can strive, you can work hard. These are all qualities that we all share in being Americans, that we all believe in the American dream. I have a problem with people that have no vested interest in our country coming here, taking advantage of your tax dollars that are stolen from your wages, and not really having any interest in becoming an American, assimilating into American culture. That doesn't mean you have to forget your home culture, but we are Americans here, and we're all in this together. And so that means having the thought of becoming an American.
Maybe that's why so many of them are staying illegal. Maybe they can't really stand behind the pledge that they're to love America and put America first to become a citizen.
Yeah.
Maybe in their heart of hearts, some of them don't really feel that way.
Sadly enough, we have a lot of Americans born here that don't stick by that pledge.
That's true.
Either.
I mean, we absolutely.
And I would actually at this point gladly trade a few of them off for some of the people at the border.
Yeah, absolutely. Do imagine that some of them hate, and some of them hate us. I mean, I know I see a lot of this, and I read a lot about this. That you come to America for what we promise to be amazing, and then you want to change everything. You don't like our policies, and you don't like our procedures, and that's a shame.
Our culture.
I do believe there's a lot of good people that's trying to come over, and they're fleeing from a really bad situation, and I am all for that. But there is a legal way to do it. I loved your statement that you had made some time ago. We said it was as if, and I don't think he counted the children in any of this, but it was as if he invited, everybody to a house party.
Everybody to a house party.
But
thousands of people to a house party that could hold like 10 people.
Yeah, really. And he's like, wait a minute, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. I don't know how this happened. It's Trump's fault. That's whose fault it is. This is Trump's fault. No, it's your fault for doing these knee-jerk executive orders and trying to tear down every single thing that Trump did to make America the great country that it is and to keep it great. That's exactly why that it's in the shape it is, and that's why that it took me $60 to fill up my car the other day. Every single thing, I could sit here all day and point it out, but the biggest worry and concern for me right now, there are babies out there that have no parenting and no one to really care for them, and I'm not so sure that even getting here, even if they did make it safe, and leaving behind the ones that I'm sure that didn't make it safe, I'm not so sure they're in much better situation when they're here, because there's predators all over the place that would take advantage of that situation. And the fact that they're trying to hide the film crews from even being able to go there and actually get a good view of everything makes me sick to my stomach, because the only reason you'd be hiding something is you're lying about stuff.
There's no reason to hide if you're telling the truth. So
back to transparency.
I urge the Democrats to
open it up.
To tell the truth. Just tell the truth.
We could talk about this forever, because this is not going to be a situation that's going to go away very, very quickly. And I know that we're going to be talking about this a lot more. Listen, we did another rescue. I mean, it's just kind of one of these things that we did. And we would love to show you her. We really need a home for her. So I'm going to grab her real quick.
Yeah,
okay, so let me get her. All right, folks. So I'm going to introduce Bunny. And Bunny is a bit of handicap. Maybe that's because she kind of hops. She doesn't have the use of her back legs, but she gets around just great. So we were able to get her rescued, and we've got her in a safe spot right now here with us until we can find, we're going to foster her until we can find a perfect home for her. She seems to get along with little dogs just fine. Haven't really had her around other cats, but she said she was okay with other cats when we picked her up.
She's precious.
She is. She's got a very sweet personality. Right now she's wanting to hide mostly, but a beautiful cat. She is bobtailed, and again, her back legs don't work, but she seems to scoot them around on the floor just fine and get where she needs to go. We're going to go ahead and feature her on redbootsandheels.com. Listen, we would love for you to subscribe below. It really helps us out. It helps us fund these rescues, and we have people come in and all of that counts. So if you could subscribe, that would really help us out. And I guess for now, we're just going to say so long until next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.